In an alternate universe, Anakin Skywalker was born at his full potential. Anakin Skywalker was not just born, he was chosen. From the moment of his birth, he was one with the Force. Unlike any Jedi or Sith before him, Anakin did not need training. He arrived in the galaxy with complete knowledge of the Force and its will, because he was the chosen one. Born to Shmi Skywalker, a slave with no husband, Anakin's existence was a testament to the will of the Force. Shmi Skywalker, a slave on Tatooine, had dreams during her pregnancy. The Force communicated with her, showing her visions of her unborn son, rising above all and bringing peace to the galaxy. The dreams imbued Shmi with enhanced intuition and foresight, helping her escape slavery. She moved deep into the desert to start moisture farming, as her visions instructed, and there, Anakin was born. From birth, Anakin's connection to the Force was evident. He moved objects with his mind and walked long before other children his age. By the time he could speak, he began to teach Shmi about the Force as best as a child could. At age 10, Anakin wanted to help people on Tatooine, but Shmi kept him away from the towns, believing his time had not yet come. Despite this, Anakin found ways to communicate and help others. Anakin's encounter with Tusken Raiders were unique. His deep connection to the Force allowed him to ease their minds and show he was no threat. He helped them craft and build tools to improve their villages and earn their respect. Anakin even taught them the basics of the Force, helping them understand and hear its will. Anakin's desire to help extend beyond the Tuskens. He aided wandering travelers and beings who ventured into the desert. His teachings on the Force spread quietly, sowing seeds of peace and understanding in a harsh world. Anakin's reputation as a wise and powerful being grew, though he remained largely unknown. As Anakin grew, so did his understanding of his destiny. He knew he was meant to bring balance to the Force and peace to the galaxy. His mother's foresight and his own innate wisdom guided his actions. By the time Anakin reached the age of 19, the galaxy had been thrown into the Clone Wars, a conflict he would end one day. However, his time to leave the moisture farm had arrived. He kissed his mother on the head, and they exchanged bittersweet goodbyes. Shmi, though proud of her son's destiny, wished he hadn't grown up so fast. Yet, she was comforted by the knowledge that Anakin was destined to change the galaxy for the better. Anakin's journey began in the towns of Tatooine, starting with Mos Espa. Upon arriving, he entered a cantina where he heard a sound of a fight. He walked in, intending to mediate and bring peace. Instead, he was punched in the face. A witness named Jarek recognized Anakin from a time when Anakin had given him food and water, even though he had none for himself. Jarek rushed to Anakin and helped him up, and then pulled a blaster on the men who had hit him. Anakin gently placed his hand on the blaster and pushed it down, saying it was not necessary. Anakin then looked at the two men who attacked him. As they met Anakin's eyes, a sense of everlasting peace swept over their minds. They apologized to Anakin and left the cantina. Jarek, amazed by what he witnessed, accepted it without question. He offered Anakin a place to stay, and Anakin, smiling, accepted. Anakin knew his time in Mos Espa would be significant. Jarek would become Anakin's first student. Anakin explained why the amount of midichlorians a person had helped determine their strength in the Force. Everyone could interact with the Force to some degree. He began to teach Jarek what the Force was.
Imagine the Force as a vast flowing river. Each of us is like a leaf on that river. Some leaves float on the surface, carried along effortlessly, while others are more deeply submerged. The midichlorians within us determine how naturally we float, how easily we can navigate and influence the currents. But regardless of where we are in the river, we are all a part of its flow. The river nourishes everything it touches, giving life and connecting all things. Some may build dams to control the river's flow, but such barriers can only hold for so long before the river's true power breaks through. Our goal is not to control the river, but to understand its currents and let them guide us. By doing so, we could become one with the Force, harmonizing our will with its flow.
Anakin's teachings resonated deeply with Jarek. He began to practice the principles Anakin shared, learning to sense the Force within himself and the world around him. Anakin guided him through exercise and meditation and small acts of telekinesis, fostering and growing a connection to the Force in his student. As their time in Mos Espa progressed, word of Anakin's abilities and teaching spread. More people came seeking his wisdom, and Anakin welcomed them, eager to share the knowledge and peace the Force brought. He emphasized compassion, understanding, and the importance of balance, planting the seeds for a future generation. Anakin's primary teaching was the importance of balance. He explained by finding balance within oneself, one could become one with the Force and gain eternal life, a life not bound by the physical body. This profound concept resonated deeply with those who listened to him. Every day he stayed, his following grew, helping not only those with strong connections to the Force due to midichlorians, but also regular people. These followers began to hear the Force and understand its will, bringing peace and harmony to their lives. Though their limited midichlorian count restricted their abilities, Anakin's followers learned to perform small feats through their connection to the Force. They heightened their awareness, sharpening their senses and enhancing their intuition. Anakin taught them that the Force was not just a tool for the powerful, but a guide and a source of strength for everyone. The belief brought a sense of unity and purpose to the people of Mos Espa. As his followers grew, Anakin's teaching spread further, creating a ripple effect of peace and understanding. He emphasized that the Force was not about control or dominance, but about harmony and balance. His lessons inspired those around him to seek inner peace and live in accordance with the Force's will. The people Anakin taught began to spread his teachings, creating a movement that rippled through Tatooine. Slaves broke free from their chains, and criminals found a new path in life, seeking redemption and peace. The shift in the social fabric of Tatooine disrupted the criminal organizations, particularly the Hutts. In response, the Hutts intensified their efforts to maintain control, but Anakin, leading the way, drove them off the planet completely. Anakin was liberating Tatooine, something it had not seen in years. The news of Tatooine's transformation eventually reached the core worlds, and ultimately the ears of Palpatine. Unable to ignore this, he sent his Sith apprentice, Count Dooku, to investigate. Upon arriving on Tatooine, Dooku felt the Force presence stronger than ever before, as if everyone there was in tune with it. Dooku found Anakin teaching his followers and was taken aback by the palpable energy of the Force surrounding him. Anakin sensed Dooku's presence in the shadows and commanded him to come out. Surprised, Dooku stepped forward. Anakin smiled and asked how he could help him. Dooku spoke of the Clone Wars and how the CIS was leading a revolution against the corrupt Republic. He then asked if Tatooine would support their cause. Anakin declined, stating that it wasn't much of an offer. Dooku, with a hint of threat in his voice, implied it was more than just an offer. Anakin remained resolute, telling Dooku to leave and to inform his master that the time was soon approaching when the galaxy would be free from the oppressive teachings of both the Sith and the Jedi. Dooku could sense Anakin's immense strength. It was like anything he had encountered before. It was as if Anakin embodied the Force itself. Without a word, Dooku departed, carrying Anakin's message to Palpatine. As Dooku departed, Anakin turned back to his followers, who were eager to hear his teachings.
Imagine a beautiful, thriving garden. In this garden, every plant grows in harmony, each one contributing to the beauty and balance of the whole. The Force is like this garden, a source of life and connection. But now picture a single plant that becomes consumed by a dark, insidious disease. At first, it might seem strong, growing rapidly and overtaking its neighbors. This disease is the dark side.
Anakin paused, letting his words sink in before continuing.
The dark side feeds on fear, anger, and hatred. Much like the disease feeds on the plant. It promises power and control, but in reality, it corrupts and destroys. The diseased plant might dominate the garden for a time, but eventually it withers and dies, leaving behind a wasteland where nothing can grow. This is the fate of those who embrace the dark side.
His followers listened intently as Anakin's voice grew more compassionate.
But there is hope. Just as a gardener can tend to plants, removing the diseased ones and nurturing the healthy, we too can tend to our hearts and minds by seeking balance, embracing peace, and nurturing compassion. We can heal the wounds caused by the dark side. The Force flows through all of us, and when we live in harmony with it, we become part of the beautiful, thriving garden once more.
Anakin's followers felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. They understood that the dark side was a path of destruction and that the true strength came from balance and harmony with the Force. Anakin's teachings continued to inspire and guide them, strengthening their resolve to bring peace and balance to Tatooine and beyond. As the Clone Wars raged on, Anakin's influence grew, lighting the way for a galaxy in desperate need of hope. Anakin had successfully transformed Tatooine, bringing peace and liberation to a planet long oppressed. Knowing his time there was up, he looked at his followers with a mix of pride and fondness. He told them they would go on to do great things, and to always trust in the Force. With his mission on Tatooine completed, Anakin set out to several Outer Rim planets over the course of a few years, replicating his success by teaching the Force and bringing balance wherever he went. He always seemed to evade the Sith and the Jedi unless he wanted them to see him. Soon, news of the new Force using group reached the ears of the Jedi Council, prompting Yoda himself to investigate. Yoda found Anakin and the two had a meaningful conversation. Despite his centuries of wisdom, Yoda became the student to Anakin. Anakin taught Yoda how to transcend death and become one with the Force, revealing the secret to eternal life. He also unveiled the truth about the fall of the Jedi and the Sith, explaining that their dogmatic adherence to the respective doctrines had led them to their downfall. Anakin reassured Yoda, telling him not to worry, for he was the chosen one destined to bring balance to the Force. Yoda, initially saddened by how far the Jedi had fallen and recognizing that the war had only worsened their plight, asked Anakin if the Jedi could be spared. Anakin, with a gentle yet firm resolve, told him that it was too late. The Force was already in motion to repair itself, and the Jedi Order as it stood could not be a part of that future. Yoda listened intently, absorbing Anakin's teachings. He realized the depth of Anakin's wisdom and the truth in his words. Although it was difficult to accept, Yoda understood that the Force had chosen Anakin to restore balance, and he had to trust in the will of the Force. This revelation marked a turning point for Yoda, who left their meeting with a profound sense of clarity and purpose. As Anakin continued his journey across the galaxy, his influence spread like a wildfire. His teachings inspired countless beings to seek balance and harmony with the Force. The galaxy, once gripped by war and division, began to see glimmers of hope and unity. Anakin, the chosen one, was fulfilling his destiny, bringing balance to the Force and paving the way for a new era of peace and understanding. As time passed, the Clone Wars worsened, and the Jedi, once great in number, were dwindling and spread thin. Palpatine had orchestrated his rise to power, and with the execution of Order 66, many Jedi fell. The Empire was on the rise, but Palpatine knew his victory was incomplete as long as Anakin and his teachings persist. Thus, he shifted his priority to finding and eliminating Anakin. Anakin, aware of the impending confrontation, gathered a small group of his best followers from across the galaxy, including Jarek, his first student. He told them that soon it would be up to them to continue his teachings and maintain balance, as there would always be those who sought to disrupt it. When they asked what would happen to him, Anakin smiled and told them it was time to fulfill the prophecy. Unarmed, Anakin surrendered himself to the Empire and was brought before Palpatine. In their confrontation, Anakin attempted to reach out to Palpatine's dark heart, trying to transform it. This only enraged Palpatine, who saw Anakin's attempt as an affront to his own perceived superiority. When Palpatine unleashed his Force lightning on Anakin, the Chosen One simply absorbed the energy, reflecting it back at Palpatine with such intensity that the room exploded, killing them both. However, while Palpatine's body remained, Anakin's had disappeared. Across the galaxy, Anakin's followers sensed his death and were filled with sorrow. But then Anakin appeared to Jarek, demonstrating that his teachings were true. Anakin had become one with the Force, living on eternally. He entrusted Jarek with the knowledge and wisdom needed to start a new order and continue the mission he had begun. Anakin's sacrifice and transcendence inspired his followers, who now had the responsibility of carrying forward his vision of balance and harmony. The galaxy, still reeling from the rise of the Empire, had a new hope. Anakin's teachings would live on through his followers, who were committed to restoring peace and balance, guided by the wisdom and spirit of the Chosen One.